The Nephilim Giants are said to have 6 fingers and toes, double sets of teeth, and some have elongated skulls. The giant skull remains also feature 1 parietal plate, which is unlike human skulls which have 2 parietal plates and 1 frontal plate. Their bodies were not only taller, but they were said to have 2 to 3 times more muscle density than that of regular humans. David and his mighty men were among the warriors who were not afraid to take on these giants. The pre-flood giants were said to have reached heights of 25 to 30 feet. However, in biblical reference to Rephaim, they were compared to cedar trees in Lebanon, which reach 50 to 80 feet on average, but can reach heights of 130 feet. Although unimaginable in size, we have found skeletons in excess of 20 feet throughout Europe, Asia, and North America. These finds are extremely rare, and the more common sized skeletons range within 6 to 15 feet in height. Many fragments of bones and complete burial chambers have been discovered as well. Some of these burial tombs found within Canada and the United States have been uncovered with collections of crowns made of seashells, and for headpieces in their presumed kings and queen leaders. The remains were found in 1 to 3 feet of loose seashells and close to major bodies of water. Some sites were uncovered in the early 1800s to 1900s around Lake Erie and the Niagara Falls area. The giants who terrorized the Native Americans had red hair and cone-headed skulls. The Celtic giants, who nearly obliterated Rome, were said to have pale white skin, blue eyes, and white blonde hair. These Celtic giants were also known to enter into a blood frenzy in battle and would cut the heads off of their defeated enemies. While the size of giants varied, they were generally known to be abnormally larger than normal humans in every encounter across the world. According to Josephus in the Antiquities of the Jews, some of these bones were still on public display. The bones of these men are still shown to this very day, unlike any credible relations of other men. As Moses and the Israelites traveled through the plains of Moab, they sent messengers to King Sihon of the Amorite kingdom to request peaceful passage through their lands. But King Sihon gathered his people and warriors and went out against Israel in the wilderness. The Nephilim practiced several evil satanic rituals involving human sacrifice and blood offerings. The Eye of Horus and other religious symbols like the sun, moon, and stars are still in use today. They were master builders of magnificent structures in the ancient world, like pyramids and obelisks. They built altars to Baal and Asherah poles, where they would offer pagan sacrifices to their bloodthirsty deities, known to be the fallen angels. The Nephilim were an arrogant, rebellious, and evil hybrid race. The original offspring were known as the Rephaim. The root word of Rapha in Hebrew means to heal. Some speculate that the Nephilim Giants were able to heal rapidly as superhuman hybrids, which is why they were known as the Mighty Warriors. The stories of these giants became legends and were connected with the mighty men of old. While the phrase mighty men is often used to describe evil giant hybrids, it is used several times to describe great warriors that defected from rebel armies and fought alongside David. Shamgar is one of the mighty men in David's army, whose name means the sword. Judges records that he is the son of Anath. Shamgar also resembles the name of a Hittite king and the name Anath, that of a Syrian goddess. It is speculated that he might have descended from an Israelite-Canaanite marriage and may have been a giant. However, it is for this reason that the Bible may have mentioned his family lineage. According to Judges 3, after Ehud came Shamgar, son of Anath, who struck down 600 Philistines with an ox goad. He too saved Israel. Jewish tradition talks of the evil giants as proud and mighty men before the Lord. The word Ariel is used and translated from Hebrew, which means lion. These accounts of mysterious lion-like warriors who resembled prides of lions as seen in scripture. A pride of lions would comprise anywhere from 2 to 40 lions, so one of these hybrids may have the combined strength and prowess of many lions. It is almost inconceivable that a warrior like Benaiah would have the bravery to take on 2 of these lion-like warriors. In addition, the story of Benaiah's battles indicate that he fought hybrid aerial warriors that were from Moab, a Nephilim-infested kingdom. 2 Samuel states Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, the son of a valiant man of Kabzeel, who had done many acts. He slew 2 lion-like men of Moab, and he went down also and slew a lion in the midst of a pit on a snowy day. While these aerial warriors are sometimes defeated by David's mighty men, there are rare instances of aerial warriors who abandon allegiance to their own kind. Some Gadites defected to David at his stronghold in the desert. They were mighty men of valor, trained for battle, experts with the shield and the spear, whose faces were like the faces of lions, and who were as swift as gazelles on the mountains. Ezer was the chief. Obadiah was the second in command, Eliab the third, Mishmannah the fourth, Jeremiah the fifth, Attai the sixth, Eliel the seventh, Johanan the eighth, Elzabad the ninth, Jeremiah the 10th, and Mechabannah the 11th. These Gadites were army commanders. The least was a match for 100, and the greatest for 1,000. It was they who crossed the Jordan in the first month when it was overflowing at all its banks, and they put to flight everyone in the valleys to the east and to the west. Chronicles 12:8-14. There are many Ariel deities in ancient cultures which depict lion-like warriors. In Babylon and Assyrian mythology, one is known as Nergal. Other ancient cultures have similar hybrid beings like the Persian Mithra, Sumerian Lamassu, and the Egyptian Sekhmet. The original Nephilim offspring may have inherited cherubim-like features in some capacity, which explains the manifestation and expression of various deities across cultures. These strange animal hybrids are seen everywhere, from bull-headed minotaurs to bird and dog-headed creatures in Egyptian mythologies to monkey-headed kings of the Chinese. Ezekiel records a vision of cherubim where each of the 4 had a human face. On the right side, each had a face of a lion, on the left a face of an ox, and finally a face of an eagle. Ezekiel 1:10. In ancient Chinese history, there are stories of winged lion-like creatures called the Pei Yao. These creatures existed in the area of Wugan Shanli. They are said to have been powerful protectors that are swift, elegant, and agile animals. The Paiyao are described as having dragon-like heads, winged feathers, and bodies of lions. The females are known as Pai Xiao, that possess 2 antler-like horns, and are guardians that ward off evil spirits. The males are called Tin Lok, and possess a single horn only. These horns were similar to antlers of a deer or Chinese dragon. The ancient history of these creatures are over 2,000 years old, and they are characterized as being fierce champions in battle. Their name can be translated as fierce beast and brave warrior. For this reason, the emperor had shields, battle flags, banners, and chariots adorned with the symbols of these animals. The Han Dynasty emperor kept these magnificent creatures which guarded the royal treasury filled with gold. A royal decree was made that forbade anyone from owning one or keeping one as a companion unless they were of royal descent. These creatures are venerated in Chinese history and have become myth and tradition, as they are said to bring good luck and fortune while warding off evil spirits. During the lunar calendar and other celebrations, lion dances are performed that directly relate to these creatures. These animals would become known as the treasure of the emperor because of their devotion and loyalty to their masters. Chinese culture has many attributed beliefs of customs that still remain today, and they are linked to the history of these animals. David's mighty men. Now these were the chiefs of David's mighty men, who together with all of Israel bolstered and strengthened his kingdom. According to the word of the Lord concerning Israel, this is a list of David's mighty men. Jashobeam, son of Hashmoni, was chief of the officers. He wielded his spear against 300 men, whom he killed at one time. Next in command was Eleazar, son of Dodad, the Ahohite, one of the 3 mighty men. He was with David at Pas Dammim when the Philistines gathered there for battle. At the place with the field of barley, the troops fled from the Philistines. But Eleazar and David stationed themselves in the middle of the field and defended it. They struck down the Philistines, and the Lord brought about a great victory. 3 of the 30 chief men went down to David to the rock at the cave of Adullam, while a company of Philistines was encamped in the valley of the Rephaim. At that time, David was in the stronghold, and the garrison of the Philistines was at Bethlehem. David longed for water and said, "Oh, that someone would get me a drink of water from the well near the gate of Bethlehem." So the 3 broke through the Philistine camp, drew water from the well at the gate of Bethlehem, and brought it back to David. But he refused to drink it. Instead, he poured it out to the Lord, saying, "Far be it from me, my God, to do this. How can I drink the blood of these men who risked their lives?" Because they had brought it at the risk of their lives, David refused to drink it. Such were the exploits of the 3 mighty men. Now Abishai, the brother of Joab, was chief of the 3, and he lifted a spear against 300 men, killed them, and won a name along with the 3. He was doubly honored above the 3, and he became their commander, even though he was not included among the 3. And Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, was a man of valor from Kabzeel, a man of many exploits. He struck down 2 lion-like men of Moab, and on a snowy day he went down into a pit and killed a lion. He also killed an Egyptian, a huge man 5 cubits tall. Although the Egyptian had a spear like a weaver's beam in his hand, Benaiah went against him with a club, and snatched the spear from his hand and killed the Egyptian with his own spear. These were the exploits of Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, who won a name alongside the 3 mighty men. He was most honored among the 30, but he did not become one of the 3, and David appointed him over his guard. Chronicles records giants that were slain at the hands of David's mighty men. And there was a war again with the Philistines, and Elhanan the son of Jair slew Lami the brother of Goliath the Hittite, whose spear was like a weaver's beam. And yet again there was a war at Gath, where there was a man of great stature whose fingers and toes were 24, 6 on each hand and 6 on each foot, and he was also the son of a giant. But when he defied Israel, Jonathan the son of Shemaiah, David's brother, slew him. These were born unto the giants in Gath, and they fell at the hand of David and by the hand of his servants. The giants were often glorified into heroes of legends. They were also known for their courageous and sometimes raging war cries that often shed terror into the hearts of normal mortal men. A notable characteristic was for the prized champion warrior to step in front of their army and challenge the greatest warrior of the opposing side. Often no such warrior would dare step out and confront the giant challenger. The spirits that proceeded from the bodies of the dead Nephilim became those which were now known as evil spirits and demons. These are the restless spirits that seek human bodies to inhabit and possess. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. The youngest of his father's house, David kept his father's sheep, threatened by the Philistines, and being armed with Saul's armor. David finds it impedes his movement. He discards it, takes his staff, and chooses 5 smooth stones out of the brook for use in his sling. He engages the giant who, upon catching sight of his tiny adversary, is insulted with disgust. David declares that he comes in the name of the Lord, the God of Israel, who Goliath has defied. David, moving forward, slings one of his stones, which strikes the giant between the eyes, sinking deep into his forehead. The sheepherder draws his enemy's sword and defeats the Philistine champion. The giant falls. The young shepherd boy returns victorious against all odds, and the forces of darkness fleeing in fear of the Almighty God of heaven and earth. Jesus is the victor over hell, death, and the grave. As Benaiah went into the pit, so did Jesus go into the tomb. Paul writes that the enemy walks around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he can devour. But Jesus has already conquered the enemy. He disarmed the rulers and authorities and put them into open shame by triumphing over them. Colossians 2:15. Now since we died with the Messiah, we trust that we will also live with him. We know that the Messiah has been raised from the dead, never to die again. Death has no authority over him. Romans 6:8-9.